Whether you've been in Spain for 6 months or 6 years, don't miss Pellicer and Heredia in conversation with Moody on BayRadio every other Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pellicer and Heredia are your international lawyers on the Costa Blanca and have been looking after the expat community for more than a decade. See more at alicantilawyers.es.
And it is definitely this week that Ignacio is here from Pellicer and Heredia. We're all back together. How are we doing?
Okay? Very good. Running around again with traffic today, early in the morning.
Battling traffic. Thanks for the traffic update earlier. I don't get to do that very much on the breakfast show. In the UK, it's a big thing, obviously, rush hour and all of that. But there's not usually that many problems away from the bit around Alicante and the airport where you come.
Yeah. I'll keep you updated. When I come, I will just text you and just, especially for people who's going to the airport.
I was just talking to you then about, you used the word chaos, many people have, about what's going on in the UK at the moment. And I said, how much notice do you take over here of the Spanish, the UK situation government-wise? I know probably more post-Brexit, but also I did see when the Queen died, it was a huge thing.
Yes, it was.
They went straight to that on the Spanish TV as well.
Yeah.
It was a big
deal. It's quite popular, you know. It's quite popular. He's always present in our news on a daily basis. I just watched this morning, early in the morning, that there is a new Prime Minister.
Again. Yes, right.
And we are quite surprised we don't follow because we probably don't understand or the press doesn't explain much. How all these things could happen, you know, it wouldn't happen here. You know, if the coalition stops, then we need to go to elections again. So we really don't understand very much why is this happening ongoing after Brexit. Spaniards still don't understand why did it happen. You know, but we still follow. You know, as neighbours and close friends that Spaniards are pretty. Get along very well with British.
Yes, and the public would do, but obviously yourselves, I would think, even more keenly because you deal with a lot of Brits over here in Spain.
Yeah, we follow up, but our clients at Moody are not happy at all with the situation. So we always get this feedback from them on a daily basis, saying what's going on. That's the question. That's what's going on. You probably will tell us.
Not well. Yes, I do as much as I need to do to get by on this show, but I try not to get too involved. Cal does in the afternoon. They cover that, and there's some good guests as well.
Right.
So right across all of that's going on, and some bits here in Spain as well. But let's get talking legal stuff. Actually, I did have a question through already, and anyone that wants to come through in the next half hour or so, you can do so. Usual WhatsApp number 684 455 844. Still have to look on the wall. I've been here. I've had that number for over 5 years now. But this was Dave in Merla. And we talked a lot about property last time you were in, and how it ties in with the visas and all of that. But this is quite a good question, I thought. So there's a UK competition going on at the moment. It's run for charity, so you'd buy almost like a lottery ticket, I suppose. The top prize is a villa in Marbella worth £2 million. So if a UK resident won that, would they qualify for the golden visa? Because obviously that's over the €500,000. But could they automatically get their golden visa along with that property?
Right. Well, the right answer will be with another question: is how they're going to transfer the property into their name. You know, because if they're going to do a gift, there is a gift tax they will need to pay. If it's £2 million, then you need to pay the gift tax in Spain. I understand. And all that transfer, how they're going to do it. So the question I will make to the promoter of the business is, if we win, how are you going to transfer the property? Are you going to just transfer like selling property? But that's not really the correct way because you're not buying. Are you donating? If you're donating, you need to pay up to 37% tax on that. They
wouldn't care for that, would they?
Yeah. So I'm wondering, Moody, how they're going to what is the plan to transfer the property, or is it only about the use of the property? If
yes.
Not,
do you become the owners of that property, or do you just get the use of it, as you say? But it would, there's lots of other questions. There's probably some very fine print there that you need to get your jeweler's eyepiece in on and scan through that. But I thought it was worth putting to you. It's I mean, if you get that property, it's always nice anyway. Whether you get that visa or not, that's always nice. Now, how they're going to transfer onto you is a good question. Is how if you end up having that property,
how is it going to be legally in your name? That will be my question to David.
Yes. Yeah,
so
yeah.
let's hope he could explain that next show. Yeah.
Yeah. I bet if he went back to them and said, "Yes, I have some questions. I've spoken to my lawyer," they'd go, "Oh, do you want to buy a ticket or not?" Just go with it. But I suppose if it's worth $2 million, you can sell it and make something on it, even if there are taxes.
That's right.
Another thing I wanted to ask, because when you're, we don't see you for a couple of weeks, you're doing all sorts of cases. How much of the sort of real sort of criminal end do you do? Representation, criminal cases.
Is all in general terms is the criminal that we normally deal in the office is all related about family issues. Or as well economical issues, all related with fraud or just. But there is actions. Even the tax office could start an action against someone if it goes over 100,000 euros. You see, they could start, and we could represent that. But most of the cases that we deal now, there is a lot of false. You call it taking over your personality. There is a lot of fraud on internet and identity theft. Yeah, that as well. But this is pretty much about reporting to the Guardia more than anything else. But yes, misappropriation about money is a lot of discussions about that.
It's what they call white collar crime.
Yes,
most of it,
yes, that's in general. I mean, you always get the drink and driving as well. And you've got a variety, even you end up having sometimes even more difficult cases to deal. But I enjoy criminal bit of law is good is good practice, and it's something that we do in reasonably. Is always integrated into a daily thing in the office.
Sure. Yeah, it's just that some of the shows that some of us have grown up on, I mean, I didn't grow up with it, but I've watched them since. So Rumpole of the Bailey, I don't know if you're familiar with it, used to represent in the Crown Court there in the Old Bailey.
Right.
But he would always defend. He was never prosecute. He was always defend like London villains and the like. He never wanted to prosecute anyone. So everyone's entitled to a defence. And actually, that's another thing as well. I think I may have asked you this before. If someone's hired you and you kind of know that they've done this, you still have to represent them, don't you? And it's a moral thing sometimes, maybe.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, every lawyer has the right to accept the case or not. So that's when you first have the interview with the client, then they will explain to you on a confidential basis what it's all about. And then you could tell them how you see the case going through and what are the possibilities. So normally we will discuss the issue on the first consultation. We will see what is the way forward. What's the best case scenario, worst case scenario, or just possible scenarios, the cost involved. And the client is the one who decides. Yes, you've touched something is about the moral. Yes, I agree with you. We really strong on morals, and we wouldn't handle certain cases that we think is completely, even though they have the right to have a defence.
Yes, yeah.
They could go for legal aid if they want, or they could go to a different lawyer. In general scenario, Moody, we are pretty much online with our clients, and I don't have any complaint or many cases that I reject because of something very weird or something very, or they're lying to me. There is one thing I will not accept is them lying to me, because it's bad for them anyway. If you lie to me, how am I going to defend you?
Right.
And then once you say something, we need to understand in what picture you are and what scenario you are, and whether it's worth just settling with the public prosecutor or just fighting.
Yeah.
In general terms, except sometimes drinking and driving, which is quite obvious sometimes. Drinking and driving, sometimes we settle, but it's all depend on stress on clients. You see, some clients might say, Ignacio, I won't stress myself with all this. I don't,
just get it settled.
We get it settled, and then if I need to give in my driver license for 6 months or whatever, I will recover that, because, there is special program for you to get the points back.
Yes, there's ways of doing it, taking classes and the like, yeah.
Correct. So settling in that respect is something not quite common, but very very normal if clients want to settle, because for us, it's not a point to defend it if there is always an argument to make, or you've got a point.
And then sometimes you'll say to them, look, you don't want this to go to court, so let's just get it settled.
I mean, at the end of the day,
for you.
Yeah, the best value we normally do is to analyse the case, study the situation, and then study every single option so there are not surprises. I mean, best case scenario, worst case scenario, or possible scenarios. And then sometimes in life you need to play the game and gamble, because it's all depending on the evidence you have and the procedure. Because sometimes we just say, well, justice. But justice, I always say, is a procedure. I mean, in purity, justice is moral, isn't it? A procedure is something that tries to be justice, try to be just and fair. But the procedures could turn out awkward, difficult, sometimes good in your favor, sometimes against your favor. It's the same like dealing with the tax office. There is always a procedure, and it's all paperwork trial, you see?
Yes, yeah.
So on criminal, there is a presumption of innocence in Spain, and they are the one who need to, the one who denounces you is the one, or the public prosecutor needs to prove you did it wrong on purpose, in general terms, is what we call it. You need to do things contrarily and or negligently. So
similar to UK, yes, innocent until proven guilty. The burden of proof is on them to demonstrate that you did that wrong.
I dealt last time, I think it was a very hot trial in Almeria, a criminal one. And I was very happy because they dismissed the claim against a criminal claim against our client. Sometimes it happens because, when you come over to Spain, you relocate yourself. You don't know who to go to. You don't know the law, obviously. And you end up with a translator, or you end up with state agents that put you in a picture that probably you don't really want to be in. And you start falling into a trap. And then the vendor or the landlord, it's very delicate, and they were accusing our client of stealing the inventory, the furniture, but there was no inventory. They were asking about 5,000-6,000 euros.
Really?
Yeah, and there was no inventory at the beginning, and unfortunately, Moody, the procedure, that's the thing you sometimes cannot stop, the stress of all the procedure. Not everybody is apt to put up with it.
No, sure.
It took us 3 years.
Wow.
just to clear the whole case up.
Yeah.
And he did nothing, but he defended, Sometimes some people might say, oh, I will accept it, just don't want to deal with it, But this client wanted to defend himself because of principles. But the problem, I always say, principles cost money.
Yes, quite.
And sometimes a debate about what you should do in that circumstances. I always recommend Moody to speak to lawyers, not regularly, as long as you need it. It's always cheaper. It's always best. It's like tax planning, one thing. What things are right, what things are wrong. What's the best way to do these things, buying a property, how not to fall into a trap. It's always better.
Yeah, especially if you've just moved over here. Just make sure you're on top of what the law is. Sometimes, mistakes cost a lot of money, and you don't need that. And with the criminal thing as well, sometimes happens, is unfortunate as well. There is a lot of unfair procedures, a lot of them. I dealt with one recently. But it went into, from the criminal, it goes into family. So sometimes goes into family law. And they just took, they removed the custody of a lady, incorrectly, to my knowledge, unfairly, because of just a statement. And it was automatic. And that was so difficult. We had it took us a year and something to get her back. So, yeah, that would be a big thing with the family lawyers, the custody of children. That's where you'd come in as well.
Yes.
A couple of people have said to me in Spain, it's pretty much they'll say they come down on the mother's side.
Not necessarily.
No.
You're having now there is a new doctrine is going now in 50-50 joint custody. Now, obviously, if the mother has more time or more ability, but at the end of the day, you always look after the best interest of the minor. So if for the minor, and the judge really tries to share custody. It's the best thing for the minor. You know, I always say when they come to the office, it will be always best to get a settlement, a divorce settlement, and agree on certain terms and conditions. It will be best for you both, for the family, for the children especially, and it always will be cheaper. Because when they say, how much is going to cost me this? We'll say, it's like building. How many floors you're going to build? 1 floor, 2 floor, 3. And it's a never-ending story, you say. And I always try to make it happen, because I think is the beauty of the profession here will be just to try to make to resolve problems. You know, that's the beauty of it. When you cannot, unfortunately, the child is the one who suffers. Then obviously the family, and then it ends up costing you for the procedure and probably. Yeah, and it's breaking into parts. You see,
as well as being expensive. Yeah, I know it's happened to a couple of people that I know.
Yeah,
and it's a long-running battle when the other person's not playing along. I do like to see when a couple separates and it's amicable and they share the custody, just instantly without having to go to court. That's always quite a nice thing.
Yeah, yeah.
If they have to separate, then do it the right way. But not always that easy.
You technically, if you split up officially and legally, you need to go to court, but it could be a formal, you could use the same lawyer, you could use the same court runner, and everything could be like a contract written down and agreed by the two parties. The public prosecutor will accept that is good for the children, which in general terms, unless it's something crazy, they will agree. And if you want to change and modify the measures or the regime or whatever, then you're allowed to do it amicably again or just through the courts, okay? But I really persuade people and clients to try to reach. And every time I go to the court before the hearing, I try to find sense to the whole, to common sense, because sometimes the judge cannot help too much if it's broken into parts, there is not a nice solution, is it, sometimes?
No.
If you negotiate with both parties, then you might find the best solution for all of them.
Yeah.
But yes, I encourage people to do so, but sometimes you can't,
No, nice. I just thought we'd ask you about a few different bits, as I say, because we cover the property and the visa side of things, which we'll do again in just a moment, because you've got a webinar coming up next week, and the last one we did was about properties as well. But interesting to get a little insight as to sort of some of the day-to-day cases you handle. Every time I talk to you, I get flashbacks of my one prosecution, which was fishing without a license back in 1991. I didn't turn up at the court. They just sent me a fine. So that was enough to scare me straight.
What I recommend, and this is basically because there is so many fields that when you relocate, you need to look into. I recommend you to use a firm that helps you with everything if possible. If it's not possible, then you obviously you give one probably the conveyancing, the other one to the visas, the other one. But it's always, you always lose information. While you're buying, you want to do your visa, and it's all connected. So in our office, what we do is different departments, but we talk to each other, so if we need to have the visa this time and the other, is all connected. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, I hesitate to use the phrase one-stop shop, but it's kind of, it's a little, sort of cheapens the thing a little bit, but it's everything under a hub.
Yes, that's
under one roof.
That's what one client of ours said in a testimonial, is Martin Wood. He's got in a website, the testimony says one-stop shop is excellent, because...
Well, it makes sense for you to do.
You have so many issues, Moody. Let's talk about, how about the tax planning as well? I'm selling my house abroad and I'm moving here. How to do the most efficient way? That's the first question you'll have. Second, what type of visa, time, paperwork, and how much it costs. Then buying a property in Spain. Is it better buying, renting? These good questions. Rent to buy.
Yeah.
Then wills. When do you make will? When power of attorney? When is necessary? So there are a lot of questions related, that probably if you go just to one person that only deals with one thing, you're going to be missing a lot of questions. You know, it's all related.
Yeah, and it's all very well. They can refer you to somebody, but if you can do it all, you know,
I think under one
together,
roof is great. I think is great. If not, okay, well then try the best to do, and try to do, even though it's probably more work for you because you need to find probably 4 or 5 different lawyers to help you with that. That's why in all these webinars and video conference, they are very good because we could talk about everything.
Yeah.
And if there is something that we don't know, we'll study for you or we'll just probably refer you to someone. But on the relocation side, we're pretty comfortable.
Okay, so that's next Thursday. So week
next
tomorrow.
Thursday, 4:30.
4:30
Madrid time.
Spain time. Yeah.
Madrid time.
Okay.
Yes, and it will be 1 hour. And the whole point is for them to start sending questions because this one we're going to concentrate on their questions. You know?
So if you want them in advance, so you can do a little bit of.
Yes.
I'm sure you'll know the answers off the top of your head anyway, but it's nice to you go into. You're a lawyer, used to going into stuff with all the prep done.
Yeah.
So and you need to register ahead of time, obviously, to do that. To be interactive on there. So it's AlicanteLawyers.es. If you go to the live TV bit, it'll be within there. Yeah.
Yes.
Where the webinars are. Okay.
And if you do Facebook as well, you could find it in Facebook. I think LinkedIn as well. Just to register, I think. And if you cannot make it on that time, it's going to be recorded. The only problem is that if you want to address that question and to be explained, probably we will not be able to do it, and we'll have to do a video conference. But as you said, Moody, the general stuff, we could discuss it. When it's very specific, I always recommend people to make a video conference just for themselves because it's quite specific for them. And you wouldn't be able to cover that in 1 hour, will you?
No, and as you say, because although the theme is the same, people's circumstances are all different. It's a case-by-case basis, isn't it? So there's finer details to be worked out there. Just very quickly, I mean, you don't have to tell me, but do any the Americans that are on there that want to move to Europe and to Spain, do they even give any reasons why they want to get out of the States? You remember a time it was a mythical place, America. It was the greatest place on earth.
Yeah.
It's not quite the same these days.
No, I think one of the reasons they normally say is Trump. They didn't like it. A lot of our clients say they don't like the government and they just want to be out. I think that brought a lot of Americans going away. Different people, probably they like going to Europe, and probably I think Spain is pretty much like Florida in the States for them, you know, especially. I
suppose so, yeah.
The Mediterranean is for them very popular, or they really like that, you know. I have some American clients who like the north as well, and
perfect,
you know. Yeah. And in Madrid, you have as well a lot of Americans, but I think they're coming a lot to Valencia. They like big cities in general. In general, they like big cities. Valencia is growing.
Yes.
Alicante is growing. Barcelona, Madrid, Malaga.
I suppose they're getting, they're still in a city as they may be used to, but it's a little bit more relaxed and less tense maybe than some of the cities, particularly at the moment. You hear some terrible stuff out of the States at the minute. It's going back the other way as to maybe how it used to be. But we'll see. There are a lot of them that they're not very happy, I think, with the situation. No. That's basically the bottom line. But I get some British clients as well like that. Why will you move to Spain? And they just say, well, we're not happy there. The weather is a topic always. Always. That's nothing new. No, always has been since they started coming over here. In the 60s maybe. But
yes, I mean, that's what we hold in all these webinars. And I think they bring a lot of value to the people, you know, and in the old days, Moody, you wouldn't be able to do these things. You know, it's such a big value for everyone. You know, in the old days, you will have to get a plane, come here, make an appointment, speak to someone, and then go back. You know, now you could do easily.
Yes, and you can, being in Vision, you can show them things, documents,
and
all that,
documents
to make sure
and
you got the right stuff.
So it's good. Relocation is easier nowadays, even though it's not a straightforward thing.
No. Okay, so anything you need to know, you can get in touch through their websites. As I said, the easiest way for English-speaking folk to it's alicantelawyers.es. The link to sign up for the webinar is at the live TV bit, but have a look at the blog anyway. There's always some useful stuff in there. And thanks for your time, as always. Let you get on with appointments. I'm sure there are plenty throughout the day.
Busy day in Javier today.
Yeah, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time on the Wednesday. All right, thanks ever so much.
Pellicer and Heredia are your international lawyers based on the Costa Blanca. We've been assisting expats for over a decade with laws to protect assets and look after your loved ones, and continue to do so in post-Brexit Spain. For advice on tax, wills and inheritance, immigration or real estate, call 965 480 737.